In this video, we're going to talk about absolute value equations. To do that, we first need to go back and discuss the term absolute value. We know the absolute value of any number is the positive distance from 0 on a number line. So for example, we have here absolute value of 4 is equal to 4, because if you take the number 4 on the number line, it's physically 4 units from 0. We do the same thing for the second one. Negative 4. The absolute value of negative 4 is still 4, because from this point here, going back to 0, we can count 4 units. This concept of knowing that the absolute value is the physical distance from 0 is going to help us a lot in dealing with absolute value equations. So let's take our first absolute value equation. The absolute value of x is equal to 4. So we know that if we substitute in x with the number negative 4, or 4, we know this equation would work. Because again, the solution of an equation is what is the value I can plug in for x, do the arithmetic, and get a true statement. So I simply substitute the two numbers in, so I've written them down below. Absolute value of 4, which we've already discovered is 4, and by plugging negative 4 in to the above equation, the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. Now to solve an absolute value equation, you must have the absolute value isolated on one side of the equation in order for this to work. So we're going to take a look at this in action. Here is an absolute value equation. The absolute value of 3x plus 5 is equal to 8. So to do this, we need to set up two equations. Since we know that 3x plus 5 as an expression can either be a negative number inside or a positive number. So again, our focus was on this value inside here. The 3x plus 5 either has to be a positive 8 in order for the absolute value of 8 to be 8, or that value needs to be equal to negative 8 because the absolute value of negative 8 is also 8. So we've simply set up two equations. One is equal to positive 8. The expression is then equal to negative 8. At this point, we just need to simply follow through with our algebra. So on our left equation, we're going to get 3x equals 3, so divide both sides by 3, and x is equal to 1. So that's one of our solutions. The other solution, if we subtract negative 5 from negative 8, we now have negative 13, which is equal to 3x, going to divide by 3. So we can now simply list our x value. Our x value is equal to negative 13/3. We can now list our two answers. X is equal to either 1 or it could be negative 13/3. In order to solve this absolute value equation, we need to isolate the x plus 4. To do that, we're going to move our negative 6 over to the right. Let's go ahead and add 6 to both sides. We now have the absolute value of x plus 4 is equal to 14. Now we can apply the same rule we did before, because we need the x plus 4, whatever that is inside, can either come out to be negative 14, because the absolute value of negative 14 in here would be 14. We need our second equation, x plus 4 equals positive 14. So by simply now doing the arithmetic, we'll start with the left. Our two choices is if x is negative 18, then the value inside the absolute value would work. In this case, we subtract 4. We get 10. Now you could check these answers. So we'll make our list here of negative 18 and 10. And we could check it. Let's just grab 10 really quick to show how that works. Take the original equation, replace the x with 10, into the original equation. Now by simplifying, 10 plus 4, that's 14. So now if I continue, the absolute value of 14 is 14 minus 6 is equal to 8, and that is a correct math statement. We do have a couple of special cases. Take a look at this equation. 2x, the absolute value of 2x plus 3 is equal to negative 2. So we have an absolute value that's equal to a negative number. Well, since we've just said that all absolute values have to be the positive distance from 0, then it's impossible for us to get the absolute value to come out as a negative number. So in this particular case, the answer is no solution, or can be written as the empty set. Because again, all absolute values need to be positive, so this particular case is letting us know that there are no solutions, that I could substitute in for x and make this a true statement. Now let's take a look at our last special case. If the absolute value equals 0, so the absolute value of 2x plus 3 equals 0, in this case there can only be one solution. But why is that? Because there is no distance or a distinction between positive 0 or negative 0. In other words, what we're saying is here's 0, it's one number. We don't have a negative and a positive of that number because the distance from 0 is nothing. So we simply set 2x plus 3 equal to 0, and in this case we would get x is equal to negative 3/2.